On November 5th of last year, Slipknot shocked the world, announcing the sudden departure of drummer Jay Weinberg, who had been a member of the band for approximately a decade. It was a decision they said was a creative one, and now in a new podcast appearance on the One Life, One Chance podcast, Weinberg's giving a little bit of detail about how he's been processing his departure from the band that he grew up idolizing. It was this shocking statement that seemingly came out of nowhere from Slipknot, announcing they had moved on from drummer Jay Weinberg, a fan favorite drummer who grew up loving the band. They wrote in the statement, "We would like to thank Jay Weinberg for his dedication and passion over the past 10 years. No one can ever replace Joey Jordison's original sound, style, or energy, but Jay honored Joey's parts and contributed to the last 3 albums, and we, the band, and the fans appreciate it. But as ever, Slipknot is intent on evolving. The band has decided to make a creative decision and to part ways with Jay. We wish Jay all the best and are very excited for what the future holds." Both Slipknot and Weinberg have moved on since that time, with Slipknot enlisting new drummer Eloy Casagrande, much to the delight of fans. And Weinberg joined the supergroup Infectious Grooves. And in March of this year, it was revealed he had also joined Suicidal Tendencies. Interestingly enough, he was replacing drummer Grayson Necrutman, who ended up joining Sepultura after the departure of Eloy Casagrande, who joined Slipknot. For his part, Weinberg says he was blindsided by Slipknot's decision to move on. He wrote in a statement days after his firing, "I sometimes wonder what it would be like to pay a visit to my wide-eyed 10-year-old self, falling head over heels in love with a new and exciting sound and culture, and tell him about the last 10 years. Even on the hardest days, I'd like to think he'd be stoked about the adventure that was in store for him. I was heartbroken and blindsided to receive the phone call that I did on the morning of November 5th, the news of which most of you learned shortly after. However, I've been overwhelmed by, and am truly grateful for, the outpouring of love and support I've received from this incredible community I consider to be my creative and artistic home. This is not the ending to the journey I dreamt of and committed myself to seeing through, not by a long shot. But despite the confusion and sadness, there is something that's provided an equal amount of comfort. For many of you reading this, 10 years ago, we weren't yet acquainted, and now we are. For that, I'm thankful in ways I'll never be able to fully express. I love playing the drums. I'll always love playing the drums. I'll always have a passion for music, art, and creative expression. Nothing will ever change that. I don't know how, and I don't know when, but I look forward to creating loud, passionate, and heartfelt music that we enjoy together again. Until then, please know it's been the joy of my lifetime to spend the last 10 years with you, sharing in our love for this special corner of the music and art world. This isn't the end, and I'm thrilled to discover what the future has in store for us. Now, in this new interview on the One Life, One Choice podcast, which is around 2.5 hours long, Weinberg really opens up about a lot of different subjects. It really was a great conversation, and I think it shows a side of him that a lot of fans really haven't gotten to see, particularly talking about how he learned from his father growing up, even though they weren't exactly spending a lot of time talking about drumming, just kind of mirroring his dad. I thought that was really endearing when he spoke about that, and I just thought it was a great conversation. So he was asked about his tenure in Slipknot. He says it's something that he's not really ready to talk about at length, and that it's still something that he's processing in therapy. He said in the interview, "Truth be told, I'm at kind of a point where I'm not quite yet really ready to talk about it, really. And that's not to dismiss the conversation, but I've spent time and spend time just processing the entire experience. And the experience not being the last 6 months, but really the last 10 years. And finally, in a way of processing all of that and doing it in kind of what I would consider the responsible way. I have a fantastic therapist who helps me. Before I speak on it, it's important for me to do the right work of processing these events, that you spend 10 years exclusively committed to one thing. There's a lot to process that on the other side. And I think that it's definitely a time where I'll speak my lived experience over those 10 years, just not quite yet." Asked if he may write a book about his experience in Slipknot and beyond, he says, "Yeah, I write a lot. It's one of those ways I think is a responsible way of the processing. And that's one of the things that, through therapy, has actually been, well, literally therapeutic. It helps you understand moments, periods of time, long periods of time, and it kind of helps you just kind of contextualize that in the greater scheme of life that you're not able to when you're kind of directly just consumed by it." I just really thought this was a great conversation from him. It definitely sounds like, from what he's saying, that We're going to hear him tell his side of the story at some point in the future about his tenure in Slipknot and that surprising departure, which was labeled a creative decision for the band. And surely the group is moving forward with Eloy Casagrande, who is a very talented drummer as well. But a lot of fans were very disappointed, and some are still very disappointed to have seen Weinberg go. And again, I just thought it was a great conversation with him on that podcast. Definitely check that one out. That's your latest update here from Rockfeed. Be sure to subscribe with notifications on for the latest news and updates.